Hey everyone, welcome back to Immediate Movie Reactions. I'm here after seeing Nosferatu. This is the latest Robert Eggers film, and this is the film that I was probably looking forward to the most throughout the entirety of the year. Even though I would have to say, hot take here, that I love The Witch. I think that's one of the best films that I've seen in a long, long time. Fantastic horror film. I did not like The Lighthouse, and I thought that Northman was kind of disappointing. So I wasn't really too sure which way this movie was going to go. Was I going to hate it or was I going to love it? And I would have to say I'm kind of in the middle on that. This film is a retelling of the Nosferatu story. It is basically just Dracula. There's not really a whole lot that's new. If you know the story, you know what's going to happen, you know where it's going. The details are where this film starts to shine, right? Where it starts to do something a little bit different. It is way more sexual than I remember any of the other films going or being. It does not have the gothic beauty of the Bram Stoker Dracula, which I didn't like that movie. I'm sorry, I didn't enjoy it. This movie looks like it's kind of filmed in a sepia tone. It's almost black and white throughout the entirety of it, but there are splashes of color. Again, just kind of browns and grays, almost looking like old dried blood. I think that there are some things like there's a one scene where Anna is coming out of her children's room, and we know that Orlok is going to come for the kids, and she's kind of standing in this dark hallway, and behind you can see the kid's door kind of slowly opening and closing and opening and closing. There are little details like that that I think are absolutely fantastic. Uh, but overall, there's too many opportunities where something kind of dramatic or awful is about to happen and it fades to black, or there's a black screen. And I think watching this, you see where a filmmaker like Hitchcock or Ingmar Bergman, I thought for some reason, Hour of the Wolf, this movie really reminded me of that. You see why they are still important, why they are still canonical, why they need to be studied and mastered, because if it weren't for them, then we wouldn't have Eggers. We wouldn't have a film like this. I think that there are too many opportunities or too many times where it builds tension and it builds tension and it builds tension and doesn't really go anywhere, or it doesn't go anywhere quick enough, I guess. So there's a scene where Orlok is coming in and they do the classic vampire's arms outstretched, right? That's fine because, it's a classic horror trope. And you see Orlok's hand, the shadows moving across the wall of a room. Okay, cool. Then it moves across the window. Then it moves across another wall, and then another wall, and then upstairs, and then across a door. And like it just adds to the overall length. I think this movie is 2 hours and 20 minutes. And honestly, it could have cut about 10 to 15 minutes and it been a tighter film, been a little less pretentious, and a lot more enjoyable. Like I said, I think that this film is a very sexual, a lot more than I have or I expected out of it. That is sort of a motif that I hadn't really picked up too much on the other stories than the other, but it's very much, it's not romantic and it's not like erotic or anything. It's kind of gross and it's a little off-putting, but that is exactly what he's going for, because this is, I think, one of the best movie vampires that maybe I've ever seen. I don't know. I absolutely loved it, even though I will say that Shadow of the Vampire, I thought going into this movie, I thought this is going to replace Shadow of the Vampire for me. But no, Shadow of the Vampire, I think, is still Willem Dafoe again. It's still a better film. I liked Willem Dafoe as the vampire in that. In this, my God. So here's another area where this movie starts to fall apart. Lily Rose Depp is not ready for this role. She is, boy, she's bad. She's bad in a lot of this. The dialogue does not help her out. This film is written like it's for the stage, like it's for theater. And so they enunciate like they are at the theater. And it's really kind of cheesy. People were laughing at certain points. There's the, I guess, now kind of classic line of Willem Dafoe when he talks about, I've seen things that will make Newton curl up back into his mother's womb. And it's, oh my God, it's cheesy. It's silly. And there's too much what we do in the shadows in this movie, I think, for it to be fully effective start to finish. I thought at the beginning it was absolutely amazing. Started to wear on me a little bit. I started to feel like, hey, maybe this isn't going to go there. it does turn it around at the end. I think it is worthwhile. Um, Willem Dafoe, I don't know. Like, is he the best worst actor or the worst best actor? I don't know. Someone needed to tell him, either do a German accent or don't. Don't drop it line to line. He's absolutely just cheesy. There's a scene later in the movie as they're going for Orlok, and again the whole like jumping around and what is happening in the time frames and all that makes zero sense. But they're going after Orlok, and he stands in front of the coffin. He's got this diatribe. He's got this monologue that he gives, and he's just kind of yelling. And I had no idea what the hell he was actually saying. I just kind of tuned out for it. But by that point, I kind of wanted it to just be over, and I think it does. Sort of like The Witch, or some of Eggers' other films. It has a fantastic ending. I think that it brings it all together, but there's too much of it from that start to that finish. There are too many down points. There's too many points where I wanted Nandor to come along and be like, "This is my familiar." Like it was just, I don't know. There's some blood. I didn't want Orlok to be basically zombified. I don't know. He's like a rotting corpse. I wanted him to be monstrous, but maybe not this monstrous. They don't explore or explain enough how he is, I think her name was Ellen. I know they call her three or four different things throughout the film. Lily Rose Depp, how he is connected with her, how that whole thing worked. It didn't really go into that. I think that that's where it could have separated itself out from just another retelling of the stories. But overall, I can't believe that people are rushing out to see this film. I, we had to pick a couple different screenings of it because we couldn't get seats. It's absolutely amazing. Um, Robert Eggers films tend to not do very well at the theater, right? They don't do well box office. So this is encouraging. I don't think that this is what people expected. But if you have seen his other films, I guess you should know what's coming. So, anyways, see it, stream it, or skip it. I actually think that this movie is a C. I think that in the theater, at the big screen, there are little scenes, like I said, like with the door, the way the door moves, or the way the shadows are moving. There were times like when Orlok is finally going after Ellen, or when he finally gets her, and you can see the shadows changing on the bed sheets. And I think that the big, there's a lot of talk about the rats and the pigeons and all that sort of thing. I think that the seeing the thousands and thousands of rats on screen in film makes more of a difference than it would seeing it on the smaller screen at home. So see it, stream, or skip it. Yeah, I would say this is definitely a C, especially if you like vampire movies, if you like horror films. Just go in and expect that this is kind of a little more of an art house film than it is just kind of a scary. It wasn't super scary, but it's very well done, despite everything else I said, because I think I was pretty down on it. But anyway, there we are. Thank you. I appreciate you all. Like, share, subscribe to all that stuff. And I will see you after the next movie.